Hello. I thought I'd do a little sort of head start video on variations on plank pose. So sometimes you go to yoga, you go regularly or for the first time, and there are postures that are really hard to do, but if it's a flowing class, then you might not have time to figure it out, or perhaps you I don't know, maybe you just don't want to think about it. You don't want to workshop and think about it in the day. So here's a video. You can refer to it afterwards if you're in my class or hopefully anyone else's class. Hopefully, hopefully a lot of teachers now are offering variations so that all sorts of students can join in, but I think that's me with wishful thinking. I offer thousands of variations, but not all students are listeners. They don't learn by listening, they learn by watching. So let's have a look at plank. It's a full body toning and weight bearing posture. It's hard work. It requires a lot of strength. There are many variations. And before we get stuck in, you are better off starting at the beginning and doing what you can with good alignment and using strength. There's no easy way to do any strengthening posture. You need to feel that challenge and differentiate between pain and effort. Effort, shaking, sweating, it's going to build strength, it's going to build muscle. Pain is just bad, it's going to get you nowhere. If you're going to have pain in a posture like plank, it is most likely to be in your wrists or ankles. I would say probably hands and wrists more than anything. If you have an unstable back or disc issues in your spine, this is probably not the time to be planking. There are other ways of strengthening your body, using Pilates, using supported work, which is going to be much more valuable for you and bring you back to your planking days. So we're going to start, keeping in mind that there is no easy plank. We're going to start with just the middle plank, the one that most people think of. So hands under shoulders, fingers spread widely, finger pads pressing down, as well as the outer edges of the palms. Nice, strong shoulders. So think of your shoulder blades as pulling around your chest from under the armpits. Really strong. You can see there's a little dome in the back. Both legs stretched out fully, knees up, heels back, toes tucked. So you're pressing into the balls of the foot, not the tips of the toes. Bum is clenched, belly pulling up firmly, pushing into the hands, gazing down. That is a plank. It is very hard and burning. Common things you see where people are not doing it strongly, or they're not quite strong enough, or they're tiring, is a saggy back, any version of this, or a bum in the air. Like so. Of the two, bum in the air is the least likely to hurt you, and eventually there's a possibility with time that that posture will lengthen out, but most people don't know their bum's in the air, so they just leave it there and they never get stronger and find that alignment, a nice long alignment. So that's your main plank, nice and strong, everything clenched inwards, and just feels very stable once you're there. Before you get there, or if you're there but you're tired, knees come down from that long position. So your hands are about, rather than being in tabletop, which is a square position, you're still coming forward. This is still really hard work. Belly is still up, butt still clenched, and you can see I flattened out my feet because when your feet are flat, you can press into them and press into your shins, and there's less weight in your knees. So I do recommend people untuck their toes here. Next variation, bring the hands back, underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, into tabletop position. Tabletop position is a really great starting point for most people's planks. It's a square, basically a square. Still a lot of work, but if you want to take this from being just hanging around on all fours into building strength for plank, you really need to push. Pull the belly up, suck it in. Pull the outer parts of the glutes in. You can think of that as clenching your bum if you want, but it's specifically the outer edge of the glutes. Really press into the hands. It's like you are trying to shove the floor away from you. Press into the shins. My arms are burning in this position. So that's your tabletop, and this is a good variation for beginners. So those are your 3 variations on plank, just the standard plank. Quick review from least intense to most intense. Tabletop, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and shove the floor away, pull the belly up, clench your bum, belly up, clench your bum for all of them. Next one, your arms are about a handprint, maybe a handprint and a half forward. Shoulders over wrists, push up, away from the floor, around the upper back, press into the shins, it's hard work. From here, you should be able to tuck your toes and pick up your knees and come straight into plank, plank. And that's your 3 main traditional plank poses. So a lot of work. That, what I just did, I can feel my shoulders and my arms and everything is sort of slightly burning, which luckily for me is a sensation I like. So, but it is hard on the wrists. Lots of people, varying reasons, be it the training you do, medical conditions, RSI, menopause, there's all sorts of reasons why people have issues with these particularly unstable joints in the body, wrists, hands, ankles. So, first of all, effort is not the same as pain. Get used to it. You do not work into pain if you're dealing with anything really, but particularly if it's arthritis, RSI, a flare-up due to a condition that affects your joints and moisture in the joints, cellulitis, you know, you just don't mess with that stuff. Tendinitis, don't mess with it, just rest it. So luckily for you, there's a version of plank where you can work the rest of your body and rest your hands. And yes, you know what that version of plank is. It is forearm plank. So it's the same, exactly the same variations in forearm plank as standard plank, but you replace the position of your hands with your elbows. So from beginning to end, forearm tabletop, elbows under shoulders. So here's a tip, trick. Most of my clients, if I'm not in a room with them, what they don't realize is quite often these elbows start poking out and your shoulders get less and less stable. So you need to have the elbows right under the shoulders in the same width as the shoulders. So if you take your hands and wrap them firmly around your upper arms, that gives you firmly, so not like this little tickling business, firm wrap of the arms. That gives you a good sense of how wide your shoulders are. Keep the elbows where they are and bring your hands forward, or make a tripod base. It is entirely your choice. There is no better or worse. Some people really do prefer a tripod base. So here we go. Forearms. I prefer hands flat. Press into the fingers. It does help strengthen the forearms, I would say, but it doesn't really matter. And then same thing. Pull up into the shoulders. Pull the belly up. Knees under hips. So there we go. That's your forearm plank in tabletop, first variation. A lot of work here. It is a really amazing way to strengthen your shoulders, forearm work. Next variation, take the forearms forward, just like the other version. Keep belly up, shift the hips forward. No, there is absolutely no space for sagging or, you know, this kind of weird in-between space. You wait until you're strong enough and then you take this variation a little bit further forward. Then you can tuck the toes, lift the heels, pull the belly up, clench your bum and hold in your forearm plank. Now, the thing about forearm plank is that you're quite close to the ground, which doesn't always work with your flows. Also, we don't always want to be so close to the ground. So that's where you use your blocks. Do you know, you can swap out blocks for other things, books, whatever, but blocks bear weight and they're the same size as each other and you can stack them. So I'd say out of all the kit that is replaceable or not necessarily, you don't necessarily need anything special, invest in blocks. And I think it's better to invest in cork or a similar material that's natural. But the truth of the matter is they're very affordable as well. So I just think that there's too much risk for accidents with books and boxes and things like that. Just get some blocks. They're not expensive. In fact, these days, a couple of blocks is cheaper than a pint. So, you know, get yourself some blocks. Same drill, but your hands will probably be dangling. It's quite a nice way to rescue your wrists, rest them. You go, forearm plank on your blocks. Knees down, or knees under hips. Then you can have 2 piles of blocks. Do that sometimes. I've got loads of blocks, you can imagine. So I do sometimes stack up blocks. And that's it. Those are your alternatives to plank. Really quick. It's just really quick. It's either all fours, hands under shoulders, or forearms under shoulders, knees under hips, and then you gradually broaden your base until you're in full plank. And no matter how strong you are, how long you've been practicing, there are times when you're tired and you will bring your knees down. The key is to still be keeping the heat and the strength and the posture. You will not get stronger if you go too fast, too strong, too fast, and you're never quite in it. You need to be in the version of the posture where you can bear the weight, where you can feel the muscles working, and all that heat, all that burning, all that strength, sweating, concentrating, pulling faces. That's where you get stronger. And you're better off doing that for one breath, really hardcore for one breath. Then maybe in a few weeks, you'll be able to do it for 2 breaths and 3 breaths, and then you'll be able to move on to the next version. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths, then the next version. And then before you know it, you'll be able to hold plank for long enough for it to work for you in a yoga class, because we don't really hang around in plank for more than 30 seconds in a yoga class. It's quite unusual. And to be honest, there are lots more fun things you could be doing to strengthen your body than just hanging around in a plank. It's just a useful gauge of how you're getting on. All right, so those of you who, mastered my plank, I'm ready to, especially in a yoga flow, I want to up level. Sometimes I want more heat, more work, I want more challenge. And this is very much a yoga thing, and that is your low plank or chaturanga, which is more tricep based work. So in chaturanga, from your full plank, you're really comfy here and it's strong. So you're not hanging off your joints. Everything is pushing away from the floor and tight. Tip forward onto your tiptoes as far as you can go. Elbows stay tucked in, they graze the ribs, and you hover halfway down. Then you can pull through to your upward facing dog or whatever posture you're going for. So that's your low plank in your flows, probably when you're up leveling from full plank. So just a reminder, review that again. Into full plank, tip forward onto your tiptoes, really strong. Elbows stay tucked in, lower halfway. That's your low plank or chaturanga. And when you're warm in a flow, you can practice it as I just did. Have a push up and then lower back down. Once you've got your plank fairly steady and secure, you can work towards chaturanga. That really strong, as you've got really strong on the upper body, it's strengthening. You will be able to then do all sorts of fun and fancy things, starting with a one-legged plank with one-legged tree pose or half lotus. You can do your side plank, will come to you really quickly once your plank is sorted. But once you have your low plank in place, your chaturanga in the Sanskrit, there's loads of arm balances. There's loads of arm balances that rely on that upper body strength. So that posture is going to take you into all of the fun, wild, sort of gymnastic parts of yoga for those who like it. But more than anything, the security, the feeling of being strong. There's nothing like that. So take my advice. If nothing else, do what you can do with effort well. So don't always just go for the easy option because it's easy. Challenge yourself, but don't go so far beyond the challenge that you're not able to hold the posture. You need to feel strong. Some days you will just take it easy. It's better to do one breath properly in the posture you can hold and really feel your muscles working than to have 5 in something where you're not sure if you're doing it right. Equally, if you are feeling tired, just chill. That's not the day to be challenging yourself. And there's nothing quite as marvelous as the feeling that you have accomplished your strength. There is no magic that will make it happen. Some people get strong by accident because of the work they do, but there is nothing like doing it intentionally, knowing that you did it for yourself. So yeah, those are your variations on plank and a lecture to go with them. See you later.